What if I told you that Apple had a third founder, someone who quit before the business was worth $1 million? You know about Steve Jobs. You already know Steve Wozniak. But there is one name that you likely don't know: Ronald Wayne. He was there from the start. He helped write up the first agreement for the company. He even made the first Apple logo. After that, he was no longer in the story. But why? Let's go back to 1976. Three guys sat around a table in a small garage in Los Altos, California. Steve Jobs, the confident leader with big ideas. Steve Wozniak is a genius in tech. Also, there is Ronald Wayne, who is the adult in the room. Wayne was almost twice as old as Jobs and Wozniak, at 41 years old. He had worked with Jobs at Atari and seen how driven he was. Jobs told Wayne about his plan to start a computer company. Wayne agreed to help, but not as an investor or an expert. He agreed to be there to keep things in check. He wrote the first deal between Apple and him. He helped the two Steves work out their differences. He even drew the first badge, which was a complicated picture of Isaac Newton sitting under a tree. It wasn't sleek or up to date, but it was Apple's first look. Ronald Wayne was given 10% of Apple in exchange for all of this. Yes, that is true. 10% of the company that would become one of the most valuable in history. But only 12 days after making the deal, Wayne changed his mind. Why? It wasn't because he didn't trust computers. Neither Jobs nor Wozniak were wrong. That's why. It was fear. Jobs borrowed $15,000 to make the first Apple computers. If the business failed, Wayne would have to pay the bill himself because he was a partner. He had things. Steve's didn't do it. If things went badly, his debtors would come after him. He sold his 10% share for $800. Take that in. That 10% would be worth a lot more than $200 billion today, more than some countries' GDP. But Ronald Wayne quit before Apple even began to grow. Was that the worst business choice ever? Perhaps. But Wayne thought it was the smart and sensible thing to do. The good news is that he doesn't feel bad about it. He's been asked about it 1,000,000 times over the years. That's always what he says. He didn't want the worry, the risk, or the chaos. He was happy with his quiet life. After many years, he even sold the original Apple deal he had signed for only $500. That paper would be sold at auction for $1.6 million later. It sounds almost magical. The third founder of Apple, Ronald Wayne, is mostly forgotten. He saw a tech empire being built, but decided not to be a part of it. His story might not be about loss, though. It could be a warning that not everyone wants to be rich. Nobody wants to be the center of attention. Some people only want peace. Jobs and Wozniak changed the world, but Wayne got something they never did: a life without stress or worry. When you hear about Apple again, remember that it wasn't just the two Steves. There was one more person in that garage. Someone made a choice that will always be remembered in business books. His name was Ronald Wayne. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.